I'm Vanessa. The snow outside the window was falling heavier, veiling the world in a serene white. I stood in the old house, the air thick with the scent of cinnamon and the soft hum of the old pipes. The clock downstairs chimed once, then sank back into silence. The house felt both empty and full, alive with the echoes of a past I'd thought I'd left behind. It all started on that fateful Christmas Eve. My brother Leo's truck was already parked beside the porch. I pulled up the driveway, the car tires crunching over ice. Inside the back seat, my daughter Lily pressed her face to the glass. "Mom, it looks just like in the photos," she whispered. I forced a smile. "It does, except it used to feel warmer." As I stepped inside, the warmth and the smell of cinnamon greeted me. Uncle Henry was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, carving a ham. Leo was untangling a mess of Christmas lights on the living room floor. "Well, look who's finally here," Leo called. "Thought the city swallowed you for good." I took off my gloves, smiling. Traffic was terrible. Lily insisted on stopping for hot chocolate. Lily ran past me, eyes wide, exploring the house she'd only heard about in bedtime stories. "Uncle Leo, is this where you broke Mom's doll?" she asked, pointing toward the living room. Leo laughed. Guilty as charged. Uncle Henry looked up from the counter, chuckling. "And don't forget who had to glue it back together." As evening fell, the tree went up, crooked as always. Leo's wife and children joined, their laughter echoing through the hallways as garlands and tinsel filled the air with color. Lily found herself drawn to a corner of the room where, half hidden beneath a stack of boxes, sat a cardboard package covered in dust. "Mom, what's this?" she called. I walked over and froze when I saw the label. "To Mom with love, Vanessa and Leo." The box was still sealed. Inside was the multi-cooker we'd bought for Mom's 60th birthday, the one she'd never opened. Lily looked up curious. "Grandma never used it." I brushed the dust away gently. "No," I said softly. "She said she'd wait for the right occasion." The room fell into a brief silence. Then Uncle Henry broke it with a tender chuckle. "Well, I'd say Christmas Eve counts." We unpacked it together, the smell of fresh metal mingling with cinnamon and pine. Leo read the instructions aloud in exaggerated seriousness, and the children laughed when he fumbled with the settings. Soon the kitchen filled with the hiss of steam and the scent of beef stew, Mom's old recipe. After dinner, when everyone had gone to bed, I couldn't sleep. The walls seemed to hum with the echoes of Mom's voice. I rose, wrapped a blanket around my shoulders, and walked down the dim hallway toward Mom's old room. The door creaked open, releasing a faint whiff of lavender and dust. The room was exactly as she had left it, the bed made neatly, the curtains drawn halfway, a small lamp on the dresser. I sat on the edge of the bed, running my fingers across the worn quilt. Under the lamp, a photo album sat waiting. Its leather cover cracked with age. I opened it slowly. Photographs filled the pages, birthdays, picnics, winters long gone. Mom's handwriting captioned each one. Leo's first tooth. Vanessa's recital. Our family Christmas 1995. A tear slipped down my cheek before I could stop it. I turned another page and smiled through the blur. "Oh God," I whispered, laughing softly. The New Year's salad photo. The memory unfolded vividly. The year Leo had tripped carrying the bowl of salad, sending it flying across the table and onto my dress. Dad had laughed until he couldn't breathe, and Mom had insisted on taking a picture of the chaos. Leo's voice came from the doorway. "You're still awake, too?" I turned, startled but smiling. "Couldn't sleep. The house feels alive again." He stepped in, looking older than I remembered. "You found the album." I nodded. "Look at this." I handed him the photo. "You ruined Mom's best tablecloth that night." Leo laughed quietly, sitting beside me. "She didn't care. She said it was proof our family knew how to have fun." We sat together for a long while, flipping through pages, the sound of the old clock marking each quiet moment. Outside, snow fell against the window pane, soft and unhurried. "Do you ever think she knew we'd end up here again?" I murmured. Leo looked at me thoughtfully. I think she always hoped we would. I closed the album, resting my hand on the cover. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full, warm, and fragile, like breath on glass. Neither of us spoke as we turned off the light and left the room. But then, I was drawn back to Mom's room. Something above the wardrobe caught my eye. A small cardboard box half, covered in dust. "Leo," I whispered, stepping out into the hallway. He appeared moments later, rubbing his eyes. "You okay?" "There's something up there," I said quietly. "A box. I can't reach it." He sighed, still half asleep, but crossed the room and dragged a chair toward the wardrobe. "You and your midnight archaeology," he muttered with a faint smile. When he lifted the box down, a thin layer of dust drifted into the air. As he did, something fluttered to the floor. A photograph yellowed and bent at the corners. It had slipped behind the wardrobe. I picked it up, frowning. It's Mom and Dad, but this isn't one I've seen before. The photo showed Mom in her garden, holding a bouquet of lilies. Dad stood beside her, smiling softly. But what unsettled me wasn't the image. It was the faint gray smudge across Dad's outline, as if the ink itself had started to fade away. "Help me move this," Leo said, setting the box aside. Together, we pushed the wardrobe away from the wall. As it shifted, the carpet beneath it rippled slightly. I frowned. "Wait." I knelt and pulled at the edge of the rug. Beneath it, faint lines formed a square shape in the wooden floor. A trapdoor sealed by a small latch. We stared at each other. "You've lived here your whole life," I whispered. "Did you ever know about this?" Leo shook his head slowly. "Never." I hesitated, my heart hammering. Maybe we shouldn't. But Leo was already kneeling, pulling the latch. The door creaked open with a low groan, and a faint, sour smell rose from below. Something old, damp, and forgotten. I covered my mouth. "What is that?" Leo found a flashlight in the drawer and shone it downward. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing a narrow wooden staircase. We descended carefully. The air grew colder with each step, the wood creaking beneath our feet. At the bottom, Leo swept the light across the room, and we both froze. It wasn't just a basement. It was a shrine. The small space was meticulously arranged. The walls were covered in framed photographs of Mom and Dad, wedding portraits, holidays, family trips. Every inch of the walls was filled. In the corner stood a table draped with a lace cloth set for two. On it, 2 plates sat side by side, their contents long spoiled, gray moldy food untouched for months. 2 glasses of wine remained, one half empty. I felt my breath catch. "Leo." Then Leo's flashlight moved again and stopped. At the table's far end sat a chair. And in that chair, upright and still, was a figure, a mannequin. It was dressed in Dad's old gray suit, the same one from their wedding photo. A faded tie hung loosely from its neck, and a wig of thinning brown hair rested unevenly on its head. Someone, Mom, had carefully glued a trimmed mustache to its plastic face. I stepped back, my voice barely a whisper. "Oh my God." The air pressed against us, heavy and suffocating. I could almost hear Mom's voice echoing in the room. "Your father takes good care of me." Leo's hand trembled as he held the flashlight. She was talking to this. I nodded slowly, tears filling my eyes. "She lived down here, didn't she?" She set the table, talked to him like he never left. The flashlight flickered, throwing shadows across the walls. Dozens of photographs stared back at us. Mom smiling beside the mannequin, her arm looped lovingly through its stiff plastic elbow. I pressed my hands to my mouth to stop myself from crying. "She wasn't losing her mind," I whispered. "She was trying to keep him alive." Leo swallowed hard, unable to look away. "She must have built this after Dad died. When she started forgetting, she just came down here instead of upstairs." For a long moment, neither of us moved. The only sound was the faint drip of water somewhere in the distance. Then a creak echoed behind us. Uncle Henry stood at the top of the stairs, his face pale in the dim light. "What's going on down there?" he called softly. "Henry, you need to see this," Leo said hoarsely. The old man descended slowly, gripping the railing. When his eyes met the scene below, he froze. The flashlight beam lingered on the table, the mannequin, the photographs, all the evidence of a woman's loneliness turned into ritual. He took off his cap and held it to his chest. "Margaret," he whispered, "what did you do to yourself?" I turned toward him, tears running freely now. "She just wanted to be with him," I said, my voice breaking. She couldn't let go. Uncle Henry's gaze moved over the room, over the photographs, the plates, the wine glasses. His jaw trembled as he spoke. She was always too tender for this world, loved so deep it hurt her. I nodded, unable to speak. We stood there together, surrounded by the remnants of a love that had outlasted reason. The flashlight's beam wavered across the table, resting on the untouched glass of wine. Then on the mannequin's still face, painted with care, but lifeless all the same. Above us, the floorboards creaked softly as if the house itself were exhaling. "Let's go," Uncle Henry said quietly. "Let her rest now." I looked one last time at the small tragic world Mom had built, a place frozen between memory and devotion, and nodded. As we climbed back up the stairs, I could still feel it, the quiet pulse of love lingering in the air, too strong to die, too lonely to stay sane. We decided to keep this a secret. Uncle Henry said, "Let's not tell anyone. Let her rest. The world wouldn't understand this." We cleaned up the basement as best we could, each movement careful, almost ceremonial. We left the mannequin there, as it was what Mom would have wanted. Back in the house, the laughter of the children upstairs and the smell of cinnamon in the kitchen filled the air. It was as if Mom had orchestrated this reunion from somewhere unseen. As I turned off the last light and headed upstairs, the house exhaled softly, as if it too had been holding its breath. Down below, behind the wardrobe and the hidden door, the basement remained still. I whispered, "Merry Christmas, Mom." And in the silence that followed, I could almost hear a reply, not in words, but in warmth, a presence settling gently around me like a blanket. Looking back, I realized that Mom's love, though hidden and sometimes desperate, was the thread that held our family together. It was a love that outlasted memory, a love that would always be a part of us.